Hello, little ones. Welcome to Humblebee Tales. I'm going to tell you the story of Max and the Great Cookie Caper. Once upon a time, in a small town where the houses had red roofs and white picket fences, there lived a boy named Max, who was famous for getting into more trouble than a monkey in a banana factory. Max had messy brown hair that stuck up in all directions, freckles scattered across his nose like chocolate chips, and a grin that could charm the socks off a scarecrow, or get him out of the biggest mischief imaginable. Max lived with his patient mother, his wise father, and his little sister Lily, who was only 4 years old but twice as smart as most grown-ups. The whole neighborhood knew Max's name, mostly because they'd heard it being called loudly from his house at least 3 times a day. "Max, what have you done now?" On this particular morning, Max woke up with that special tingly feeling in his fingers, the feeling that told him today was going to be a day for grand adventures and possibly spectacular trouble. He bounced out of bed, got dressed in his favorite striped shirt, and bounded downstairs for breakfast. "Good morning, my little tornado," said his mother, ruffling his already messy hair. "I'm baking cookies for the school bake sale today. They need to cool completely before I can pack them up. So whatever you do, Max, please don't touch them. Can you promise me that?" Max looked at his mother with his most innocent expression, the one that fooled absolutely nobody. "Of course, Mama. I would never touch your cookies without permission." What Max didn't mention was that he had his fingers crossed behind his back. And everyone knows that crossed fingers make promises disappear like magic. After breakfast, Max's mother went to the market, leaving Max and Lily at home with strict instructions to play nicely and stay out of trouble. The moment the front door clicked shut, Max's nose began to twitch. A magnificent smell was drifting from the kitchen. The warm, sweet, absolutely irresistible smell of fresh chocolate chip cookies. "Oh no," said Lily, watching her brother's eyes grow as round as dinner plates. "Max, you have that look." "What look?" Max asked innocently, already tiptoeing toward the kitchen. "The look that means trouble is coming faster than a runaway shopping cart." Max peeked into the kitchen and gasped. There, cooling on wire racks, were 3 dozen of the most beautiful, golden brown, chocolate chippy cookies he had ever seen in his entire life. They were practically calling his name. "Max, Max, we're lonely. We need someone to taste us. Just one," Max whispered to himself. "Mama will never notice just one missing cookie." But as Max reached for the first cookie, he accidentally bumped the kitchen table. The cookie jar on top wobbled, teetered, and crashed to the floor with a tremendous smash. "Uh-oh," said Max. "Uh-oh is right," called Lily from the living room. "What did you break now?" Max looked at the mess of ceramic pieces and scattered cookies on the floor. His mother's favorite cookie jar, the blue one with tiny painted flowers that had belonged to his grandmother, was in about 100 pieces. "This is bad," Max muttered. "This is very, very bad." But then Max had what he thought was a brilliant idea. If he could clean up the mess and hide the evidence before his mother came home, maybe she'd never notice. He could say the cookie jar had simply disappeared. Like magic, Max grabbed the broom and dustpan and began sweeping up the pieces. But in his hurry, he bumped into the kitchen counter, which made the bag of flour wobble and tip over, creating a white, powdery explosion that covered everything, including Max, from head to toe. "Eku," Max sneezed, sending flour puffing everywhere like a small snowstorm. "Max," called Lily. "It sounds like a tornado hit the kitchen." "Everything's fine," Max called back, though he looked like a ghost who had been rolling around in a sugar bowl. "Just doing some cleaning." While trying to clean up the flour, Max accidentally stepped on the garden hose that his father had left by the back door after watering the plants. Water came shooting out like a fountain, soaking Max from head to toe and turning the flour into sticky, gooey paste. Now, Max was covered in wet, floury goop, standing in a kitchen that looked like a bakery had exploded during a snowstorm. "This is getting worse," Max groaned. Just then, he heard the front gate creak open. His mother was home. "Max, Lily, I'm back," came his mother's cheerful voice. Max panicked. He looked around frantically and spotted the laundry basket full of clean clothes by the back door. Without thinking, he dove behind it, trying to hide. But Max had forgotten one important thing. He was still dripping with water and covered in flour paste. When he crouched behind the laundry basket, he left wet, gooey handprints on all of his father's clean work shirts. "Max," his mother called, her voice getting closer to the kitchen. "Why does it smell like wet flour in here?" That's when little Lily appeared in the kitchen doorway. She took one look at the floury disaster, the puddles of water, the broken cookie jar pieces that Max had missed. Lily started to giggle. Then she giggled harder. Then she laughed so hard she had to hold her stomach. "Lily," called their mother, "what's so funny?" "You have to see this, Mama," Lily called back, still laughing. Max tried to become invisible, but he forgot he's covered in flour. For a long moment, nobody said anything. Then Max appeared slowly in front of the mother. "Oh, Max," she said, shaking her head. "What am I going to do with you? You look like you've been wrestling with a mixing bowl and lost." "I'm sorry, Mama," he said in a very small voice. "I just wanted one cookie. And then everything went wrong. And then everything went more wrong. And then everything went really, really wrong." His mother sighed, but she was still smiling. "Come here, you little disaster." "Max," she said gently, "do you know why I asked you to leave the cookies alone?" Max shook his head. "Because I baked extra ones, just for you and Lily. They're in the tin on the counter. The cookies that were supposed to be your after-lunch treat." Max's eyes grew wide. "Really? Really? But now, instead of enjoying cookies, we get to spend the morning cleaning up this magnificent mess you've created." Max looked around at the kitchen, which truly was spectacularly messy. "I'm really sorry, Mama. I'll help clean up everything, even if it takes all day." "We'll clean up together," said his mother. "But first, we need to get you cleaned up, or we'll never get the flour out of your hair." And so, Max spent the next 2 hours getting a bath, helping scrub flour off every surface in the kitchen, redoing the laundry, and carefully sweeping up every last piece of the broken cookie jar. When they were finally finished, Max's mother brought out the tin of cookies she had saved for him and Lily. "These taste much better when they're shared honestly," she said with a wink. Max bit into his cookie and had to agree. It was the most delicious cookie he had ever tasted. "Mama," said Max, "next time you make cookies, can I help you bake them instead of trying to steal them?" "I thought you'd never ask," said his mother, giving him a floury hug. And from that day forward, Max became the best cookie baking assistant in the whole neighborhood. He still got into plenty of trouble. After all, he was still Max. But he learned that some adventures are much more fun when you don't have to hide them from the people you love. And they all lived happily ever after. Though Max's mother did buy a new cookie jar with a much heavier lid just to be safe. Subscribe us, Humblebee Tales, to hear fascinating stories like this.